as soon as I discovered like the wholesaling model, I was like, this is brilliant. Like this is like an infinitely scalable business. I absolutely fell in love with it. And then built InvestorLift just for myself. I was like, let me look at opening it up. We did a webinar. In that webinar, we did sales in the first 30 days. And I was like, shit, I need to quit wholesaling. The guys that win in finance and consulting, they're going to be way ahead. They're going to be driving their first Porsche, living in a luxury apartment, making 150, 250K a year right out of college. And then there's the guys that go start their businesses, and those guys are living in their mom's basements, pursuing some crazy idea. And we kind of look down on them and we're like, look at these crazy idiots. But then if you fast forward, some of those guys are exiting their first companies, and now we work for them, managing their money. It's the best time in history to build businesses. Get a job at a small business because you'll get more responsibility, learn an industry, and then go start your own company. In any industry, the people that bring data and technology into that make a lot of money really quick.
Welcome back to another episode of the Austin Zabak Show. Today we have a very special guest, Robert Wensley, on the show. CEO and founder of InvestorLift is probably where you know him from. And this guy is a guy that I've had the pleasure of knowing for quite some time now, also working with, right? You know, we have Cartel mode. We use InvestorLift on a daily basis in our wholesaling company. And it's changed the game for us, and it'll change the game really for anybody who gets on the platform. But today I wanted to have Robert on here, talk about InvestorLift, how he got started, talk about wholesaling real estate, the market in general, and just a bunch of stuff. So make sure you stay to the very end. And Robert, I appreciate you being here, bro.
Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it. And thank you for your business for so long. You guys are slinging a lot of deals. How many deals are you doing a month right now?
I think in July we did 35. We closed 35.
Closed 35. Mm-hmm. Congrats. That's incredible.
Yeah, thank you, dude.
Yeah. You guys consistently, when I look at the leaderboards on InvestorLift, you guys are consistently right up there on the top.
I appreciate that, bro. Yeah, I don't think we use it how we're supposed to by like selling the deal through InvestorLift. I know it makes your end a little complicated.
The offer data would be good.
Right.
Because I'm trying to train AI on it. But yeah, you guys are selling a lot of deals.
Yeah,
it's good. We still see the data, but it takes there's a little bit of lag time.
Yeah. Our whole team loves it, man. You know, and really ever since we got it, I mean, we always were strong when it came to selling deals. Yeah. But really, InvestorLift just amplified it, right? Yeah. Like it was like just steroids, dude, to what we were already doing. You know, and I mean that's really how we view the platform. We view the platform like a tool in our tool belt to be able to extend our reach to even people maybe that we've never met, and people, especially, you know, in some of these weirder deals where, you know, it's just like, hey, we don't know a buyer off the top of our head that would be good for buyer for that deal. And InvestorLift just always will save the day, you know, in the 11th hour.
In the 11th hour when you think all hope is lost.
Exactly.
Let it rip.
Let it rip. Dude.
What I'm really proud of too is just the numbers, like the numbers that people are getting. Like, so, you know, you can't just go out and buy InvestorLift. You have to go through an application process. We only accept a very small subset of users that apply. I think at one point this month, we only accepted, or this year, like 1 month, it was like 2.8%. Wow. You know, so we're looking for people that are actually going to get a good return on investment. But one of the questions we ask on the application is, what is your average assignment fee? And the average assignment fees we see on those applications are typically $14,000 to $15,000, which I think is, if you talk to any guru in the industry, they're going to say, yeah, our average assignment fees nationwide for our students are about $14,000 to $15,000. So I'm like, okay, that checks out. Now, this year, obviously, we track the assignment fees on InvestorLift. So before users get on, they're at $14,000 to $15,000. So far this year, you know what we're clocking at? Average
22.
Assignment fee? Close. 28.7 last time I checked.
Yeah.
So that's exciting because it's telling me that when people make the investment in InvestorLift, they're getting a return on investment on that first deal. Like they're literally making twice as much money per deal. So that's really incredible. And they're selling them way faster with way less work. Like imagine the process off of InvestorLift, what like used to be like, it would take 2 weeks sometimes to sell a deal. Now, like, you know, I just jumped on a call last week and it was a customer who was thinking about upgrading. I'm like, do you have a deal to sell right now? He's like, yeah. I'm like, just jump on Zoom right now. Let's sell your deal right now. We sold the deal in, I think it was like 56 minutes it took us. And then he just took the proceeds from that and upgraded his account. So it's fun work.
Oh, dude, for sure, man. And I'm excited to dive into the whole back end of everything and really, you know, peel back that onion. For people, Robert, who've maybe never heard of you, just real quick, give me how did you start InvestorLift? I know you went to Harvard, right? Yeah. You're a real smart guy. And, but, you know, at the end of the day, like, wholesaling, like, did you have any experience as a wholesaler, or did you just from afar, see the industry, see a need in the industry, and fill the need. Like, how did this whole thing come to be?
Yeah. So when I was in college, like a third of the class goes into consulting, a third goes into finance, and a third will go into everything else. So I was looking at becoming a consultant or going to finance. Did econ, finance, major and minor. And so I was going to go work on Wall Street. And then I was doing an interview with the president of Goldman Sachs. He's like, I'll give you an offer, but please don't take it. I'm like, why? He's like, you're an entrepreneur. Go find an industry that hasn't been disrupted and go and start a business. Because when you go to the 5-year anniversary from college, the guys that win in finance and consulting, they're going to be way ahead, right? They're going to be driving their first Porsche, living in a luxury apartment, making $150,000, $250K a year right out of college. And then there's the guys that go start their businesses, and those guys are living in their mom's basements, pursuing some crazy idea, and we kind of look down on them and we're like, look at these crazy idiots. But then if you fast forward to the 10 or the 15-year anniversary, it's like some of those guys are exiting their first companies, and now we work for them, managing their money. But working in finance, you're a slave to finance. You're always on the grind. Versus if you start your own business, you have the ability to sell that business and build tremendous wealth. And it's the best time in history to build businesses. It's easier than ever before. So he's like, go out. His recommendation was get a job at a small business because you'll get more responsibility, learn an industry, and then go start your own company to service people in that industry. So my first challenge was thinking of what industry. And I had seen how finance had been disrupted by data and technology. So in any industry, when you bring data and technology into it, the people that bring data and technology into that make a lot of money really quick. And I saw that real estate was still in the Stone Ages. Graduated in 2015, so I think like Zillow was maybe out, but like these real estate websites were just in their infancy. Open Door came out the week I started in real estate.
Wow.
So I was like, okay, real estate makes sense because it's one of the biggest markets in the world. Everyone needs real estate, but there's no technology. So I just started cold calling house flippers and got a job working for a house flipper and scaled that up. We got to like, at one point we were doing 60 flips at a time.
Wow.
And we realized that flipping doesn't scale. So we hit a wall there. And then that forced us to pivot 100% to wholesale. We went from about 100 people working at the company down to maybe a dozen. But then within about 6 months, we were doing $1 million months wholesaling.
Wow.
So as soon as I discovered like the wholesaling model, I was like, this is brilliant. It's just like options trading in finance, but we're creating our own options, right? You don't have to buy the option. We're really creating our own option contracts and then selling those option contracts. Like this is like an infinitely scalable business. I absolutely fell in love with it. So yeah, did that for a few years and then started wholesaling on my own and then built InvestorLift just for myself initially. But then like to fund it, I got friends to chip in money. I'm like, whatever I build for my business, you have a copy of. So the first couple of years, there's just 12 of us.
Wow.
You know, we jokingly called ourselves the InvestorLift Cartel. And it was just 12 of us on the system. Those guys became tremendously successful. And then eventually I was like, let me look at opening it up. We did a webinar and I was like, okay, it wasn't a SaaS product at the time. We'd literally install it on people's servers. Like if you bought it, we'd literally set up an Amazon web server and like install it on your server. It wasn't SaaS. So to turn it to SaaS, I knew it was going to take at least a couple months. It was going to cost a lot of money. I didn't have the money to hire the engineers to do it. So we did a pre-sale and my thought was, okay, we'll pre-sell it with a launch date in 60 days. If enough people buy it, I'll use the money, hire the engineers and deliver it. If no one buys it, then whatever, it's a dumb idea. Just kill it. Keep on doing what I'm doing. And if not enough people buy it, I'll just refund those people their money and just keep on rolling. So it was with Dan Schwartz. It was February 2021. We did the webinar. We capped the webinar at 150 registrants because I think that was like the max on whatever webinar account we had. So it maxed out at 150. We pre-sold 144,000 the first hour. I was like, whoa. And then I took that webinar recording and I shared. I'm like, let's see what happens if I share this on some Facebook groups. So I posted on a bunch of real estate Facebook groups and it just went viral. It went absolutely viral. It was like a 3-hour webinar. and we had like, I don't know, like 70% average watch time. It was like just bonkers. In that webinar, we did 1.8 million in pre-sales in the first 30 days. And I was like, shit, I need to quit wholesaling.
Yeah.
So that's when I quit wholesaling, went all in on InvestorLift, and the rest is history.
Wow. Dude, I love the story, man. I don't even think I've ever actually heard that story.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I appreciate you sharing that.
Yeah.
And gives me a ton of backstory. So I would imagine that there was more adversity than you're even describing during that whole thing, right? Adversity,
maybe so many times.
Yeah. And also probably people in your inner circle telling you you're crazy. What are you doing? I mean, I'd imagine any entrepreneur, right? Yeah. You're gonna have people that that are like, dude, you're like, go freaking do that over there. Like, you're doing the wrong thing. You're wasting your time. You're wasting your money. And then not only that, I'm sure you had it pushed back in the industry from people who were like, why would you share the buyer? Why would you share buyer info with everybody? Like, I'm sure there were just nuances to your idea.
Yeah.
That people didn't like at first. Like,
it was such a hard sell at first.
Right. So can you elaborate on that a little bit? Like some of the adversity that you faced in getting this thing off the ground, and like maybe some of the negative pushback in the beginning, because I mean, again, to your point, you're disrupting an industry, right? Of wholesalers and flippers that for the last, what would you say, 40, 50 years have been doing it a very certain type of way.
Yeah. Chuck in the truck with a cell phone.
Yep.
And notepad. That was the way that was done for years. Yeah, the legal pad.
Yep.
And the phone just rings all day and they're driving around from address to address.
Yep.
There's got to be a better way. Yeah, I mean, so InvestorLift, the whole core reason why it works out, maybe I'm sharing a little bit too much game here, but the reason, there were 60 different deal sites when I launched mine. So people are like, oh, it's such a brilliant, obvious idea. Why did no one do it before you? I do my market research before I invest this kind of effort in anything, because I knew if I did it, if you build a company, it's 7 to 10 years before you're looking at an exit. So I had a Google spreadsheet and I had all the different deal sites, and I studied all of them and looked at which ones were more successful, which ones were less successful. And they all had problems that I had identified of why I thought they weren't working out. One of the biggest problems is customer acquisition cost. So how a lot of these other deal sites, like My House Deals was like a big one back in, the mid 2010, 2010, 2015. Now, like the inside joke is like My House Deals is where deals go to die,
Yep.
And there was no barrier to entry on the wholesaler side. So anyone could post a deal for free. Right. And then how their model worked is they would then run Google ads to acquire buyers and then try to monetize the buyers by charging them a monthly subscription. I'm like, that doesn't make sense. The monetization strategy is backwards. The buyers are the ones bringing the money in. You should be charging the wholesalers, not the buyers. But then even if you did that, the wholesalers aren't going to pay until you have enough buyers where it makes sense, because essentially you're a data platform. You're selling data. You're selling buyer access. So how do you build up a big enough buyers list? And throughout my life, I have an older brother, Steven. He also has a big technology company based up in Calgary, Canada. We were always really into tech. Like we were into Bitcoin when it was at $100. We used to torrent music. We were really big, especially into decentralized technologies. And the reason why you see like Napster pretty much took down the United States music industry, it was decentralized.
Yeah.
Okay. You look at Bitcoin. I remember years ago talking about how like one day Bitcoin's going to be over $1,000, and then talking about one day, imagine what will happen if it breaks $10,000. I think it's trading at like 60,000, and it's going to be over 100,000 in the next couple of years. So what I realized over the years is the power of decentralization. If you build an information system and you make it decentralized, where each node on the network adds value. So every time I add a new node on the network, it adds value to the rest of the participants on the network. If you can just seed a network and build decentralized infrastructure so that the participants can create combined value, then you have a train that's going down the track and it's not stopping. The brakes are not going to work. Even if I wanted to stop InvestorLift right now, if I just stopped all operations and just kept on paying the server, it'll keep on ripping.
Yeah.
Like the buyers are still going to come in, the deals it'll keep on growing. It's growing exponentially now. And the reason being is I was trying to think about how do we build a decentralized system? Well, what you got to do is you got to allow people to collaborate. So the best way to do that is have people working together on building the buyers list, because that also handles the customer acquisition cost. If your wholesalers are building the buyers, then you don't have to pay $5, $10, $15, $20 in customer acquisition costs to go get the buyer.
Sure.
Right. So I came up with the idea for Cartel mode. We're putting our list together. A lot of people are starting to go into multiple markets. There was no solution for that. So I was trying to solve my own problem as well. And how I was solving this offline, like I remember the first time this happened, I had a lead that came in Austin, Texas. I knew Austin was a great market, but I didn't have any buyers in Austin, Texas. So I call up Nick Perry. I'm like, hey, do you have any buyers in Austin? I know you're based in Austin. He's like, yeah, I got like 5,000. I'm like, I'll give you 5,000 of my LA buyers if you give me 5,000 of your Austin, Texas buyers. So we were like emailing lists back and forth. So I eventually built up my buyers list to a couple 100,000. And then I went and I started selling people on adding their buyers in exchange for access. So in the first sale, it's tough. It's like, hey, I got 200,000, you got 300,000.
Yeah.
But in that guy, the first few people are like, you're nuts. This is my baby. Like, I've been building this list for 10 years. Why would I give it to you? But when it's like 200,000 versus like 50,000, you're like, oh, that's a great deal. So you make that deal and now you're at 250,000 buyers. And then you go to the next guy and then the next guy. You build it up and build it up and build it up. And then so we got it to about like 1 million buyers or so. But on any buyers list, like 80% is junk. So maybe we had like 100, 200,000 like legit buyers, but it was enough to get it going.
Yeah.
And then now it's just spiraled. Like now it's rolling. Now we're at 5.5 million buyers, and we got tens of thousands more coming in every single day. We're getting more traffic to InvestorLift.com than like FoxNews.com, CNN.com, I think it's Wall Street Journal and New York Times combined, like those four. So it's worked. It's worked out really well. And I don't think anyone will ever be able to reproduce it because it was so hard. Like it was so hard. And then once you start building it up, it's building. If you don't monitor the two-sided dynamics on the marketplace, you can get negative networking effects going, and those will take you down even faster than you build them back up. So like every month I have to fire people off of InvestorLift. Like we monitor all the activity when people have like too high unsubscribes or like they're posting a bunch of junk deals. We do all this. We have all this stuff that's running in the background to maintain network health, right? Because if you have someone that comes on and is just posting junk, we look at like the baseline activity of like what an average deal posting should have in terms of like likes, shares, images clicked, offers, inquiries, address requests. That's our baseline. Then when we see new wholesalers coming on, they're like way below the baseline. Then they show up on a dashboard, and then we got to like have a conversation to either have them fix it or we got to move them off platform, which sucks because I probably spend over $150,000 a month just like keeping the junk out. But it's allowed us to maintain a very healthy network, and we got a lot of really cool features coming this next quarter that are going to take it to an even another level.
Yeah,
I'm really excited for.
Cool. Maybe we can talk about a couple of them here in a little while, or you can give me a little sneak peek.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I'm a Cartel member now.
Yeah.
Right, which, you know, to your point, you initially had 12. I think now there's what, 50?
50, yeah.
Now?
Keep it at 50, yeah.
Okay. And so we're Cartel.
By the way, there's probably 250 people that say that they have it.
Yeah.
But most of them are full of shit.
Got it.
They're just doing that to try to get JV deals.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. And you probably, there's got to be a way to like be like, you can't do that, right?
I think I'm going to send everyone Cartel hats.
Yeah. Oh, that could be cool.
If you're just something
like legit Cartel people, like a Cartel,
like send me a photo of your hat.
Yeah, dude, that would actually be pretty dang cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then it's like if they stop being Cartel, they have to like send it back or something. I don't know. You know what I mean? I don't know how you would do that. You know, and by the way, for everybody watching, I'll link down below. So if you want to get InvestorLift, you can use my code. Everything will be down below. So and we'll put it in the bottom of the screen. Which I definitely think you should get, by the way. If you're a wholesaler, like Robert said, only 2.8% in one of the months?
That was our lowest month.
Okay,
but
so maybe average is what, 5?
Yeah, 5-10% is pretty
5-10%.
typical.
Okay,
yeah.
so if 100 of you right now go down and click the link down below, about 10 of you at the most will qualify for InvestorLift, which is a good thing, right?
Yeah.
Because you want, again, to maintain the network. I mean, you used a fancier word, but essentially the integrity of the network, right?
Yeah.
Which is obviously very important. So 5.5 million buyers.
Yeah.
That's a lot of buyers.
That's
How many buyers do you think are in America that are like legit buyers? Because you said about 80% of anything is typically going to be like not necessarily maybe not junk, but like maybe they buy a deal a year or whatever. Like how many legit flippers do you think are in America?
Yeah, so it's a logarithmic distribution. So that means that like, you know, the like top 20% are the ones doing that, like by far the most volume, and then it goes down. So like we have every realtor in America in our database.
Yeah.
You know, that's probably like over 1 million right there. We have, I actually am most excited about bringing in more new investors because they actually pay the most. Right. And there's an infinite amount of those. I think like legit buyers, I'd have to check our numbers, but like there's probably like 10 million or so like legit buyers.
There has to be.
Yeah. But a lot of them are like, you know, in rural. In the major cities, we have pretty much everyone. Like pretty much everyone in the major cities, we got locked in. Now we're starting to expand more out into the rural markets. But I think that the best buyers are like, you know, I call them the HGTV buyer. They're like, they work a 9 to 5. Maybe they work in tech, or they're double income, no kids. They got disposable income. They saw their parents got wiped out in 2008 in the financial recession. So they're looking for like some more tangible assets to have in their real estate or in their financial portfolio. So they'll flip a couple properties here on the side, or more typically take down some buy and holds. And they're typically shopping on the MLS until they go on YouTube and they watch something like this and they learn about InvestorLift. And then all of a sudden they're like, whoa, I don't have to pay full market on deals. There's a whole marketplace for investors. And so we get like probably 20, 30,000 of those registering each month.
Wow.
And those mom pop wholesalers, because they don't have, buyers, because they don't have a lot of overhead, they're able to pay a little bit more for deals. Or, you know, there's a lot of like buyers that are also their own contractor. They're able to pay a little bit more. So where like, you know, Zachary Keeps wants to buy really deep, a lot of these like newer investors are able to pay a little bit more. And it's a big benefit to them as well, because their alternative is to buy off the MLS. You know, so I always encourage people, do your numbers. Don't buy a deal that doesn't make sense. But we are moving stuff at higher rates. There's so many times where people are like, oh, like, you know, like I'll give you a good example of this. On Closers Olympics, RJ Bates, he signs up a deal in Lubbock, Texas. And he got so much heat because he signed it up in like 15 minutes and people were like, oh, this deal is never going to sell. It needs to be $20,000 lower. And I think it was like Chris Jefferson or someone in the comments is like, or Nate, I think it was Naaman Taylor. He's like, might not sell if you don't have InvestorLift, but if you do have InvestorLift, this is definitely going to sell.
Yeah.
And then so just to prove a point, the next day, RJ Bates and I, we got on a YouTube live and we spent 3 hours and we sold that deal live. And we just like no cuts, no edits. We're just sitting there for 3 hours. You know, it was a long time to sell a deal. Like I don't typically spend 3 hours on one deal. But we got it sold. We made like 5-10K on it, which, you know, it's a tight deal. I don't normally do small deals like that. But just to prove a point, like, and then that buyer has now bought like 4 or 5 additional deals from RJ Bates in that city. So that proves another point. Like if you find a good buyer, you can just keep on, like the lifetime value of a buyer is pretty high. So I'm excited about that, getting more of these rural buyers on, getting more of these like mom and pop buyers, smaller buyers. Ultimately, it brings more efficiency to the economy.
Sure. Yeah, 1,000,000%. For somebody that maybe might not be familiar with InvestorLift, can you walk me through, we talked a little bit about Cartel.
Yeah.
Can you walk me through the different levels that people can get? Like what's the barrier of entry?
Yeah.
So lowest level for maybe somebody who's watching right now who's doing 3 or 4 wholesale deals a month.
Yeah.
You know, maybe they're making 20 grand a month, 15 grand a month, maybe even, right? And they don't necessarily, maybe they're not a good fit for Cartel.
Yeah.
But is there another option for people to get in?
Yeah. So it starts at $6K with our pro plan. Now, our pro plan doesn't give you a buyer's list. It's designed for people that are, in one market, right? Maybe they're just getting started and they just need an efficient system to manage their entire dispo process. So you bring in your buyer's list, you load it in. And the cool thing is, if you're in a major city, we already have your entire buyer's list guaranteed. I think our average, like when we load in a new file, we look at what percentage of those buyers that we already have on our existing buyers list. I think the average right now is over 99%.
Wow.
But the nice thing is we've already handled all the texting opt-in for you and spent hundreds of thousands of dollars building dedicated email servers to get you the max deliverability on your email. So if you're using let's say you're using Constant Contact to send out your emails, you're on a shared IP you could be on that same server with people that are sending like dick growth pills and things like that. So when they spam on that server, Constant Contact and MailChimp and all these servers they're not telling you that, hey, you're on a shared server and your stuff is going out with everyone else, and whatever they do to your reputation is going to sink you. So you don't have to deal with all those problems. So you're going to get 100% TCPA compliant texting. You're going to get the best open rates in the world, and we're going to augment your list. So your list, you might be missing cell phone numbers. Well, when people register on InvestorLift, they have to put in, we only accept mobile numbers, no VoIP, only mobile numbers. And then they get texted a code and you have to type in that code.
Yep.
So all those mobile phone numbers are going to be augmented onto your list, making it way more powerful for your dispo managers. So you're getting way more horsepower just out of your existing list. But then we give you also unlimited access to something called God Mode. And God Mode has every single flip and every single buy and hold property in America on a map. When you want to display your deal, you click into God Mode, you can see it all. Now, you do have to do some work, skip tracing and calling those buyers. But the cool thing we did, again, we're trying to do decentralized here, is if someone else has already skip traced that buyer and verified the phone number, you'll just see that. You'll see a green phone number. And most major cities, most of the cities already been skip traced for you.
Yep.
So just that, $6K, you're going to make that back almost guaranteed on your first deal if you use it right. And then that plan doesn't come with buyers. If you want to get a different plan that has buyers, there's a Falcon plan. That Falcon plan comes with 10,000 buyers. So now we're dealing with someone that's in one market, but more doing 4, 5, 6 deals a month. They want some extra horsepower, but just for one market. So that plan gives you 10,000 buyers plus Artemis, full access to Artemis mode, which is crazy, crazy tool. The most insane thing we've ever launched. And then the level above that, that's our first national wholesaler level. That's Lieutenant. And that gives you the top 25% of our buyers based on their buyer scores. We score every buyer almost like a credit score. So that's if you're a nationwide player. But you're not ready for full Cartel. We'll give you the top 25%, and then obviously full Cartel, you just get all of our data, everything we have.
Yeah, Cartel. Yeah, and we when I got onto InvestorLift, gosh, and it was quite some time ago, right? We started, dude. I literally think we started on Pro.
Yeah,
and then we almost immediately, I think within a month, we went from Pro to Lieutenant.
Yeah,
and I don't think at the time you even had Falcon.
Yeah,
I think I could be wrong, but I think we started with Pro. Then I think 2 weeks later, I walked into my partner's office. I was like, why don't we just do Lieutenant?
Yeah.
And then we did Lieutenant, and then we did that for probably almost a year, I'll bet.
Yeah.
And then I was like, dude, we need Cartel. What are we doing, right? And then we got Cartel, and now I can't imagine not having Cartel. But we're a national wholesaler, big operation, obviously, right? And our dispo guys absolutely love it. I mean, you came in, we did a video actually.
Yeah.
I think that video that we did actually is going to get released on my YouTube hopefully soon.
Nice.
The one where we were selling deals live, you know?
I love that.
So that'll be cool. But yeah, dude, I mean, the platform is on another level. Can you talk to me a little bit about what are some of the things that you're looking for in a wholesaler? Because, you say 5 to 10% on average, right? Qualify. Yeah. What are some things, because I'd imagine it has to be more than just they can afford it, right?
Yeah.
What are some things that you're asking them in the pre-application process to see hey, are they going to be a good fit for our platform?
Yeah. So the biggest tell on whether or not someone's going to be successful on the platform is we try to get a sense for, okay, do they actually have deals? And the easiest way to tell if someone actually knows how to underwrite and do sales and price things right is how many transactions have they actually closed successfully? Because there's like most coaching programs out there, if you go and you survey the students, less than 1% of them are actually doing deals.
Yeah, it's true.
They're overpricing everything. They they're wannabe real estate investors. And we don't want that on InvestorLift. We don't want people just throwing shit at the wall and seeing if the spaghetti sticks. We want real deals. So, we just ask people, how many deals have you done in the last 6 months? That's your biggest tell, because if you're successfully able to get something under contract and then resell it, then that means the market has accepted you is literally an underwriter, and like it's very black and white. Like, have you closed some deals? If you've closed some deals, chances are you figured shit out. So that's the biggest thing. We also look for, like, are these spending money on marketing? When we see applications coming in with like zero marketing spend, it's like, okay, well, if you're not reinvesting in your business, you're not going to grow. We're trying to look for people that grow with us. Most people start on the pro plan for $6,000, but the average customer spends over $30,000 with us. So when people come on, they get those first wins really fast on pro. They're moving up to Falcon really quick, usually within like 90 days or so. And then similarly, from Falcon to Lieutenant, they're moving up really, really quick. And so we want those people that are going to send with us and move up to higher levels that we can work with, growing them and partnering with them on their business. And now this year, we're bringing in more. We're setting up a lot of these kind of like sister companies, subsidiaries of InvestorLift, to help provide even more tools for the existing customers. So I like going deep with customers. Like once I get a customer, I just want to make sure your experience is 11 out of 10. Whatever your expectations are, we exceed them. And then we continuously bring you more value. And every time we have something new, you're just like, you can't wait to try it. Yeah. That's our goal. Just be super, super customer centric.
Yeah, no, I really love that a lot. And one of the things that you're launching soon, maybe we can talk about in a little while, but I think we're going to be helping or, partaking in that day one, which I'm very excited about. My team's excited too. Yeah. So I know we've been working with your team, I believe, behind the scenes, trying to get all of that launched, which will be really, really cool. Yeah, I think, and I guess one thing I want to ask before we go there actually is, when you've been in the industry now for quite some time, and you've seen the Jamils, the Pace Morbys, the Austin Zabaks, the Ryan Pinedas, the Chris Crones, the Cody Spurbers, right? And you've seen like their, like to your point, their students and because everybody's got a community, right? And so you kind of know like the progression. I feel like you, out of all people, have like really the data to support like the wholesaling kind of journey, almost like the timeline of a wholesaler, right? From when the day they find like a video on YouTube or whatever, and they're like, whoa, like I can get into real estate with no money and no credit, till like they're doing 2, 3, 4 deals a month, right? Yeah. And everybody, I feel like, teaches a similar yet different kind of methodology and I'll give you an example of what I mean. So like for me, sometimes I'll actually tell a brand new student of mine that is just getting started in wholesaling, actually like day one, I'm like, hey, for your first couple deals, have a dispo house sell the deal for you. Yeah. Right? Like if this is literally your first deal, focus on the acquisition, right? Like get the deal under contract. Like that's the main thing. If you don't have a deal, you can't sell a deal you don't have, right? So focus on the acquisition, get that deal under contract. And then work with like a Keegley or a One Roof, like my company, whoever. It doesn't matter if it's me or who. It doesn't matter to me, right? But then have them really hold the deal together, because they're going to be the glue. They'll bring the buyer, probably through InvestorLift, right? Because that big dispo house is probably going to be like a Cartel member. Yeah. And then you can kind of see how that process goes, but then you're not taking your eyes off of the acquisition, right? Yeah. And so I think Jamil teaches a similar thing potentially. And then I tell people, I'm like, once you do a couple deals, then go learn dispo. Yeah. Right? Like go build it. All power to you.
100%.
When do you recommend somebody really take a good hard look at getting a platform like InvestorLift? Like at what stage in the process?
Yeah. I mean, I think you got to do at least 2 or 3 with a JV partner.
Yeah.
Like just to, because here's the thing. I mean, it really depends on the person, right? Some people learn things really fast. Some people take some a little bit longer. If you're a fast learner, yeah, after you've done like 2 or 3 with a JV partner, you could potentially look at doing your own dispo. Some people it might take more, right? But what I 100% agree with is you should learn one thing at a time. The big mistake that all of us have made as real estate educators is teaching people everything. And when you teach people everything, they master nothing, right? So if you look at the most successful people in history, what they're very good at is first principles thinking, right? How do you break things down into the smallest little things? Because the real estate industry, all the different deal strategies, exit strategies, it's a never ending game. You can always learn more. And a lot of people they become these education and conference junkies where they're spending all their time just consuming education instead of actually going out and mastering the skills, right? You can watch golf for thousands of hours. Is that going to make you a great golfer? No, absolutely not. You got to go out and actually practice these things. The other big mistake that I think we're making is we're trying to teach people the marketing. That's where most new investors die because it takes a decade to become a good marketer. So I think over the next few years, we've seen, I predicted this years ago that you're going to see separation between the real estate flippers and buy and holds, the guys that are swinging the hammers, and the guys sourcing the deals, because they're 2 completely different businesses.
Totally different.
So we've seen that segmentation happen in the marketplace. The next segmentation is the segmentation between acquisitions and dispositions. We've helped really drive that, where now there's a million different dispo shops you can take your deal to have it sold for you. So now you can just focus on acquisitions. The next stage is splitting out the marketing, right? Because so many people come and just get crushed trying to learn marketing. These blow through all their life savings trying to learn marketing. And what they really should be doing is focusing on how to do sales and underwriting. So if you're watching this and you're just a beginner, just focus just on sales and underwriting. Go buy your leads from someone else. Don't try to mess around with marketing right now. Like just focus on underwriting and sales. Like that's 90% of your success right there. When I meet people and they're at conferences or wherever, and they come up to me and they're like, "Oh, I've been in this for like a year and like I haven't got a deal yet." A lot of times I'll just shoot straight with people just based on their body language, how they communicate. I can tell whether or not someone, is going to be a good salesperson. Sometimes I'll just shoot straight. I'm like, to be honest, you don't strike me as like the sales type. You need to go find a partner that is a killer on sales. Maybe you can be the background systems guy. A lot of times there's like, we attract a lot of like the engineering types. Those guys do great on building the infrastructure, the systems, the CRMs, the follow-up campaigns. But you need, if you're that person, you need the killer salesperson that can just be on the phone, just closing anyone. So that's where you should focus. That's the only thing you should focus on initially is, can I price these things? It's crazy how people just gloss over this. Like this is the most important thing. You're arbitraging options contracts. Literally, it's buy low, sell high. If you don't get the numbers right, nothing else matters. It's like the most important thing, actually even more important than sales, is like, can you price things? Because even if you're great at sales, if your numbers are off, you're dead in the water. If you look at the top guys will be within like $4,000 or $5,000 on their ARVs preemptively of what things actually play out for. And then those buyers will come back over and over again. So get the underwriting done, get the sales done, get someone else to dispo. Once you've done at least a few and you feel like, hey, I've mastered these. That's what's real key. I've mastered these. Now it's time to bring in dispo and master the dispo piece.
Dude, I freaking love everything you just said, because you and me are identical in our thinking about how you've articulated that. And I actually would encourage anybody who just listened to that, if you're driving right now or you're watching at home, rewind that and listen to how Robert just literally broke down step by step, right? Like this isn't complicated, step by step, how to get into wholesaling and actually succeed, right? And I totally agree. I think that way too many people are trying to do way too much in this industry, and really in every industry. But I mean, obviously we're focused on this industry, and it's just, it boggles my mind. I do a comping call every Tuesday. They typically last 2 to 3 hours live with all my students. And I tell them every single Tuesday, I say, Like the people that are there, dude, like it just like to prove your point, right? The people that are there every Tuesday watching me comp and then doing it with us, like actually like, and I'm like, hey, what do you think the ARV is? Like, I won't tell them what I think until I hear what they think, right? What do you think the rehab is going to cost? Yeah. Right? What do you think your MAO should be? You know, and the people who practice that are the ones who make the most amount of money.
Yeah.
Like there's just like, it's literally the data is right there. I see it every single week. Right. And I tell people that I'm like, guys, and to your point, dude, underwriting, man, you mentioned a minute ago, Robert, you said, you know, real estate is so vast, right? Yeah. And there's so many directions you could go. Now, obviously right now we're talking to the wholesaler, but dude, the reality of it is if you learn underwriting, you can do anything.
Yeah.
Like I tell people, you can't flip if you don't know how to underwrite.
Yeah.
You can't buy a rental if you don't know how to underwrite. You can, but you're not gonna make any money.
Yeah.
You can't wholesale if you don't know how to underwrite, right? Like you can't buy an Airbnb if you don't know how to underwrite. You can't, like
everything starts with underwriting.
It does. Yeah.
And if you look at most coaching courses out there, they'll just do like 1 15-minute video.
Yeah.
No, you need to master underwriting. That's the most valuable skill. What I used to do on my sales team is we would actually remove underwriting from the sales training process because we realized how important it was. And when we were trying to teach the salespeople it, we would have inconsistency in our numbers. Certain guys would be consistently low. Certain guys would be consistently high. So what we did is we set up Deal Desk. I just gone to a Salesforce conference and they showed me this thing where you could build these like custom widgets that would like screen pop. So what we do is we set up the CRM so that, you know, we had a couple acquisitions guys. I'm like, I don't want to teach these guys any real estate. Forget about it. All they got to do is they're closers. That's all I want them to do is closing. So their only job is, again, the way to really scale this shit up. Like we've taken multiple companies past $1 million a month, multiple companies past $2 million a month. The last one that went past $2 million a month was just 7 guys on the team.
Wow.
And they held over $2 million a month for over a year. So how we set up these teams, these high performance teams, what we're doing differently is keeping everything stupid simple. So the sales guys just need to have a crazy track record of really closing experience. Like I'm not coming in teaching you how to do sales. I want you to already have years, at least a decade of sales experience, outperforming everyone else. You're number one in your car sale business, whatever, then bring you in and give you a bigger widget to sell. So all they got to do is figure out 2 things. Do they have motivation? Do they have equity? That's it. Do they have motivation? Do they have equity? And then if they both of those boxes are checked, then the system sends that file over to an underwriting desk. And that guy, he's world-class underwriter, has been doing it for 10 years in that market. He just sits there all day long, putting in max level offers and target dispo prices. And his compensation is tied in to how accurate he is with those numbers. And he puts in those 2 numbers, presses the button, and then that salesperson, when they're on the phone, it just screen pops, hey, you got your new max level offer.
Yep. And
target dispo price. So now by having just one person do the underwriting, what that does is gives you consistency in your numbers. It's if your numbers are off, it's much easier to fix it with one person than it is to try to fix it across 5. There's too much variability there, right?
Yep.
And then it's really easy because the sales guys, all they got to do is build rapport and they get their numbers and they got close bill. It keeps it simple. Yeah. They're not having to pull up the MLS while they're trying to build rapport and like comp stuff out. So I like doing it that way. That's my favorite way to do it. But I like also keeping them on the call. I know there's like some controversy in this industry going on in this past week about 2 different ways of doing it, keeping them on the phone, not keeping them on the phone. I like to keep them on the phone. We looked at, because there's a lot of data to support that. Okay. As soon as you hang up that phone, your probability of reconnecting, your probability of closing that deal decreases. Even like on our sales team, we're selling software. If we close the customer on the phone, they're all hyped up, ready to go. And then we send them the link. We used to do this. We would send them the link after the call and they would type in their credit card info, their billing info, and then submit it. We don't do that anymore. We started doing it on the call where we would set up their billing info while we're on the call. Over 20% boost in sales. Because as soon as you hang up that phone, the dog's barking, the mailman comes to the front door, something happens, and then you get pulled into something else. Like if someone's ready to make the purchasing decision or the sales decision, you got to do it, and you don't want to the connection rates. That's another big lever. There's a few massive levers that you can pull in your wholesaling business. Initial contact rates, follow-up connection rates, those are big levers where if you get those dialed in, they can have dramatic impact in your business.
Yeah, no, it's so awesome. I've got a question for you that I think you might be one of the only guys that I've ever interviewed that would be fit to potentially answer the question. And that would be when you look at AI, when you look at technology, right, and you look at the direction the world is heading, do you think that, like, you look at, like, okay, let me give you the preface by saying you look at like Zillow and you look at like this estimate, right?
Yeah.
Multi-billion-dollar company, right, worth tens or hundreds of billions of dollars, and they still can't get this estimate, right?
Yeah, because they can't see inside the house.
Right. So is underwriting a thing, Robert, in your opinion, because you're a really smart guy, that will a robot, will a computer, will a machine ever be able to very accurately give a person, an investor even potentially, an MAO and an ARV, or is it going to be manual for the next 50 years, do you think? Like, does it take a human being?
Good question. Yeah.
To go look? Because, every platform I've ever seen try to do it gets it wrong.
Yeah, so it works with retail properties, right? Mm-hmm. Like Zillow publishes their median error stats, like what percentage their estimate was off by what the property actually sold for. Mm-hmm. And there's some argument there that maybe it's a self-reinforcing loop where like now the realtor just goes and like lists at whatever this estimate is. So like, and there could be some of that going on. But it doesn't work with our industry because of the scope of work. We don't know what the scope of work is. So that's why it's always off. Now, there's two ways. I do think that everything eventually gets solved with technology, almost everything. But the only two ways that I can see it being solved is, like, the reason why it's not working is you can't see inside. Mm-hmm. And then even if you do see inside, you have to have a sense of what it would cost to get the property up to, what it should be worth with this estimate or whatever. So I think that, with these new big natural language models, they actually are able to ingest images. Mm-hmm. And I know, there's a lot of companies out there that are using this on their direct mail in a very primitive way where they'll take the street view of each property, they'll ingest that into an AI, and they'll try to figure out, like, oh, is the grass overrun, or like, is there tarps on the roof? And the AI is already able to pick up on stuff like that. And then those properties that are detected by the AI, just looking at the street view, to be a little bit more distressed, they're going to do a little bit more marketing to those. Okay, so there's already some examples of this actually in production out in the wild today being used by some of the really big companies. I can see that starting to happen inside of the house. If you could get the homeowner to submit images, and this is why on the InvestorLift seller site, which we don't talk about a lot, but we do give everyone a free seller site when they join InvestorLift, in case you want to run Google ads to motivate homeowners. The last step is the option. You press a button, it opens up your camera phone, and you can walk around taking pictures. And then all those photos come in with the leads. Not everyone does it. Maybe 20% of leads do it, but those 20% are the best leads. So the very best leads tend to do it. Now, I think that if these models get strong enough, you could get to the point where an average AI could outperform an average underwriter in terms of coming up with an accurate repair budget. I could see it happening. It'll be one of those things where it's like, it's not going to perform perfectly on an individual deal, but net over a big, large sample of deals, it'll be accurate.
Yep.
Right. So that's the one thing, is it might be 5-10K over here, 5-10K under here, whatever. Human underwriters are the same thing. We're going by ballpark. So I think that is an option. Where I see it really getting exciting is if we really fast forward a ways, like, this is down the road, but this is where we inevitably are heading, and that's with humanoid robots. So Tesla has, of course, what they call it. Is it Optimus?
I think it's Optimus, right, Jacob?
Optimus?
Yeah, it's Optimus, yeah.
Yeah, so again, Elon Musk is, he's been saying that the Roadster is going to be here for like the last 4 years. I'm still waiting for the Roadster.
If not longer.
Yeah. So I think, he's like, well, he does have them working. He has a few working in the factories right now.
I've seen Optimus, yeah.
Yeah, it's really impressive. So I think that, within the next few years, we're going to start seeing those out in the wild. And I can imagine a world like, in the future where like, you submit your home address request and then like literally a Tesla truck rolls up in front and it's got a bunch of robots, and a robot comes in and it's equipped with all the sensors. It can detect if there's moisture in the walls. It's got mold detection. It's got thermal imaging that can see if there's like big heat leaks, or if the insulation has fallen down inside the walls. If it was equipped with a bunch of sensors and stuff, it could probably do a home inspection better than a home inspector could eventually. And then if we get to that point, then you're going to have banger, like perfect repair estimates on everything.
Yeah.
And you could even have that information then feeding up into like systems that will start ordering the parts and materials. And like, it's going to be so much more efficient, more efficient than we have right now.
Then in theory, flipping could be not infinitely scalable, but you could scale it way further. Like you said, you were doing like 60 at a time.
Yeah, and you can't scale it because of the human element.
Right.
But if you got robots doing the work, the robots are going to lay tile perfectly.
For sure.
The robots are not going to have any code violations. They download the code book and they know the entire code better than any home inspector out there. That's the next step that makes it really sexy, is you'll actually have robots actually doing the instructions.
Yeah.
And they can work nonstop. Like all they got to do is stop and recharge every few hours. Sure. But like you could have them working 24/7.
You could. Yeah.
Yeah.
How long do you think we are from that future, in your opinion?
I think it's out there, but it's also a lot faster than you expect. Like a lot of stuff, it feels long when you're going through it, but then in the like great span of things, no, I think it's like, like 7 to 10 years.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll see how this podcast ages.
Okay.
Within the next decade, I think you're going to see like early adopters at least. Mainstream, 20 years. But like early adopters, you'll see the big companies, like big house builders like Toll Brothers.
Oh, for sure.
You're going to see them going out and making big orders, ordering hundreds of these robots. And then I think the consumer side of things will follow. It's not going to be like your average Joe home buyer that buys these robots. I think they're going to be, initially it's going to be on new build construction because it's easier and they'll get better. But tech doubles every 18 months.
Which is wild.
Like think about where ChatGPT 4.0 is now.
Well, now the amount of, I was watching a video yesterday where they were comparing all the AI models. There's actually a company now, I have to send you the video, but this girl developed a company because basically, and I didn't even know this, but there's there's probably hundreds or thousands now, but let's just say for the sake of the conversation, there's 10 AI models.
Yeah.
And each one is good at a certain thing. So like one AI model is really good at like reading pictures and coming up with like whatever, right? And another AI model is really good at fill in the blank. And it's like, well, which AI model do I go to for what, right?
Yeah.
And so now there's already a company that has all of the AI, and also it's like, you're paying $20 a month for ChatGPT, and then you're paying $20 a month for this AI model over here, right? And there's this company that houses all of the AI models into one. Yeah. You pay one subscription fee, and then it tells you, like, depending on what you're trying to do, it'll say that AI model, and you just click a little drop-down menu, and it'll be like ChatGPT, or it'll be like Meta AI. Yeah. Apple just, is coming out with their AI, right? And, dude, it's crazy. And to think that, people have only been talking about AI for, a couple of years, really.
Yeah.
If you really think about it. They've been talking about it for a long time, but, like, in terms of it feeling mainstream.
Yeah, like ChatGPT made it mainstream.
Yeah, it did. Yeah,
we're using some AI, but we don't like advertise as AI. It's just like running in the background. Like your account right now is connected to AI. Everything your team is doing is feeding up into that AI model. It's comparing the performance of your team against every other team on InvestorLift. And then the banners and like video tutorials and stuff that pop up in your account to try to train and elevate your team or have certain features more adopted are going to be completely different than like some beginner that is brand new on InvestorLift. And then we also know like what the probabilities that you're going to stay with us or you're going to leave and if the probability starts elevating that, this customer might leave, that AI is then going to signal to our account management team, hey, you need to reach out to Austin Zabek. Something's not going right. His activity on the platform is not aligning or it's trending in a certain way. So like we got a bunch of different AIs in the background, but when we're like Apple, we're like, I have more of the view that if you're like, oh, this is AI, then you probably have a really shitty feature and then you just have to put the AI stamp on to try to make it sound sexier than it actually is. The best technology is when you don't see the technology, right? So we're always trying to simplify. I always tell my engineers, I'm like, simplify everything to the point where you can't simplify it anymore.
Yep.
And that's usually the best experience.
I like that a lot.
Yeah.
What, in your opinion, is the difference between somebody who you said that you've seen people scale to $2 million a month.
Yeah.
Wholesaling real estate, right? What's the difference between that guy and somebody doing $100,000 a month or $200,000 a month? Like, because you see people, and even me, like, just I'll be straight up, right? Like, we'll do probably, our wholesale company will probably do $5 million this year. So you can do the math on what that averages out to. And that's just our wholesaling box, right? And we run a very good, healthy profit margin. But like, what's the difference between like me? I'll even use me as an example. I'm happy to do that. And the guy doing $2 million a month. Like, what's that main thing?
Yeah. So it comes down to focus. Okay. So the big mistake that the beginners make is, they got 10 different exit options. Oh, we're going to novate. We're going to sub-2 seller finance, fix and flip a few, buy and hold a few. Oh, we got this crazy multifamily deal that came across. Oh, check this out. There's a hotel. Oh, this hotel is such a great deal. Like, no. Pick one thing and become the best in the world at it. Go 11 out of 10 on one thing. And then once you're 11 out of 10 on that one thing, then add something else. So, I think to get that scale, you can't do multiple exit options. It's just impossible. You got to just buy low, sell high, keep it simple. And then what you got to do is you just stay really focused on two numbers, and that is, what is your return on ad spend? What is your cash conversion cycle? You just become obsessive over those. And then you don't try to make your system super complicated. Like the last company that we're working with that we scaled up to over 2 million a month, we came in, like they had like over 180 fields on each seller record because they're fix and flip, they're buy and hold, they're, who's the private money lender on this? It was just, I'm like, no.
Way too much.
This is too much for us to even work with. Let's stand up a new system. Do they have motivation? Do they have equity? What's the max allowable offer? What's the target dispo price? And then like some stages, like where is this deal in the stage? And then there's going to be some additional stuff in the background that's very complex, like follow-up sequences. When do you notify the acquisition manager to go call that person again if there was not an answer on the first call? And then those, again, we try to keep simple, but a lot of the heavy lifting, the thinking, you don't want your salespeople doing any thinking. You engineer that into your follow-up systems, and they're just running on autopilot 24/7, right? They're sending out emails, they're sending out testimonial packets to the homeowner in the background. That machine is just working. So you got to build a machine.
Yep.
You build a machine and you keep the human element as simple and limited as possible. The more you can have programmatic, the better it is. So like, I'll give you a pro tip. Like, remember I was talking about earlier about how there's big levers that you can pull, and like initial contact rate is a very high lever, right? If you get 100 leads that come into your system, you're not going to get every single one on the phone. And it might take you multiple calls to get each person on the phone. So that's the first hurdle you got to get over, is like making initial contact. So, we engineer a system and we're trying to figure out ways to optimize it. And we just come up with ideas, test different ideas, see what the lift is in those ideas. One of the most powerful things that we figured out, very simple, is, with the phones, first of all, you got to have all your numbers registered with like shake and stir and like all of that. Get caller ID, like make sure you have good numbers. That's like the low hanging fruit. But even if you get past all of that, like I get hundreds of phone calls every day. I never answer my phone unless it's someone I know. So we're trying to figure out how to get over that initial hump. And what we did is, when the lead comes in, it would run the round robin, assign it to a sales agent. We would then run a check to see what that sales agent's phone number was in the call system. And then we'd programmatically send a text message from that person's phone number right before we call them. So it'd be like, hey, this is Austin Zabek from House Buyer USA. Receive your offer request on 123 Main Street. Is now a good time to chat? ? And what you're doing is you're soft introing yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So they know who it is when you call. The text messages are like, it's something like 95% of them are read in the first 2 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
So when you call, they know who's calling. But then the other thing too is then on the iPhone, even if they don't read the text message, when your call comes in, it's not going to come in from unknown number. It'll say maybe Austin. So you're picking, because they have a little AI that detects names out of text messages.
Yep.
So you're piggybacking off of iPhone's little AI there. And then they're like, maybe Austin. Oh, okay, let me answer this. So that gave us like a massive boost in that initial contact rate. So like just really simple things like that. Like you just got to break things down to first principles. Like, okay, I need good leads, high quality leads in major cities.
Mm-hmm.
Get that down. Then, okay, I need to get my initial contact rate at a certain percent. Get that down. Then, okay, I need to have my underwriting accurate. We need accurate numbers. Get that down. Okay, what's our lead to deal conversion rate? Okay, that's going to be a function of our underwriting, but also a function of our lead quality, but most importantly, a function of how good the salesperson is. Okay, if we're not having a good close rate, let's do some sales training. Get that down. Okay, dispo. Are we selling at or above or below our target dispo price? Let's get that down. How many days is it taking for us to move through each of these stages? Get those down. Have them in dashboards. So you got to look at your business just as like a machine. It's a money-making machine. You got your inputs. Your inputs are dollars invested on marketing, dollars invested in salespeople, technology, and what's my outputs, and then how fast are those outputs. And then as you scale up, then it's a capacity issue. It's like, okay, as I crank up lead flow to my sales team, at what capacity does conversion rate start dropping off? Right? As I scale up my marketing in one market, at what point do I hit diminishing returns where my return ad spend starts dropping? And at what point does it drop to a point where I'm going to say, okay, I'm not going to spend more in this market. I'm going to add another market to try to get a higher return ad spend. You know, like if I'm getting 10x return on ad spend in a market, as I crank up my ad spend, return on ad spend is going to go down. It might go down to 5x. Okay, let me go find it. Okay, I'm happy with 5x, but I don't want to go lower than that. 3x return on ad spend is usually break even. So I'm not going lower than 5. So now I'm going to bring up some new markets, test some new markets, see if I can get back up above 10, and then keep on expanding my ad spend there. So it's just thinking about things, again, first principles, very simple. Keep everything very simple. Don't work hard, work smart.
Yeah. No, I really like that a lot. You obviously are working with big wholesalers all day, every day. You're going to events and masterminds all over the country, all over the world. In your opinion, what types of marketing are wholesalers doing in 2024 that are working the best? Is it direct mail, pay-per-click, pay-per-lead, meta? I mean, ringless voicemail, text, email. Like, what is it from what you're seeing?
So they all work, right? And when you first get started, you have to do certain ones because you have a lot of time, but you don't have a lot of money. So when you first get started, you got to basically cold call because it's the cheapest.
Yep.
Texting used to be great, but texting is pretty much
anymore.
dead now. Not anymore. Then you get class action lawsuits and everything. It's not worth the hassle.
Yeah.
So you're pretty much cold calling when you get started. I used to do a lot of direct mail. I used to send 350,000 postcards every single month.
Wow.
In like 2018, 2019, I completely stopped because what I found is that you can get a much higher, more predictable return ad spend with digital. Okay, so if you look at any of the teams on InvestorLift, anyone doing more than $500,000 a month in assignment fees, they're making their money, at least 80-90% of it is all through Google Ads.
Yeah.
Because Google Ads is high intent traffic and it's inbound. So you have to start with the outbound first because it's cheap. You're calling people, build your cold calling team, get some VAs, whatever. You have to start there. But as soon as you can make the move for the digital scales.
Yeah, 100%. PPC, would you recommend somebody go PPL before they go PPC? Like, should they go? Because that way they don't have to try to figure it all out, right?
Yeah, if you were to zero me out and maybe just give me like 10 grand to start over again, I actually wouldn't even mess around. Like if you have 10 grand, go straight to PPL.
Yeah.
If you're starting from 0, then you got to pick up the phone and just start down.
Right. Yeah.
If you're like 0, pick up the phone. But if you got 10 grand, if I had 10 grand, I'd go buy leads first. Because when you start up a new Google Ads account, what you have to spend money on first is just getting data. You got to get data on like what headline works, what subject line, title, keyword, bid strategy. So you're going to blow through tens of thousands of dollars just figuring out which ads work in which markets on which keywords. So if you got 10 grand, that's not enough. You might get lucky and get a deal, but like you're most likely probably 90% chance just going to spend your 10 grand and get nothing for it.
Yep. And you see it happen all the time.
So if you want to go to like PPC, like and actually run your own account, you gotta start with PPL first. PPL, pay per lead, buy the leads from someone that already has an account trained up. Get to like 100 grand a month. 100 grand a month is easy to do. Once you're at like 100 grand a month or so, yeah, okay, maybe now I can start looking at Google Ads. And then what you got to budget is 6 months of ad spend. So if your plan is to spend $10,000 a month, put $60,000 in an account and just commit to it. Commit to 6 months. I'm spending 10 grand a month for the next 6 months, and then you'll eventually hit it off. But most people shouldn't manage their Google Ads accounts because you're going to be competing against like other guys that are the best in the world, and that's all they do, and they have a competitive advantage on you, and it's going to be very hard for you to do better than just buying from them. So I think, PPL is probably the future. If you look at any other industries, like plumbers don't generate their own leads. They buy them from Thumbtack and all these other apps. Realtors don't typically generate their own leads. They buy them from Zillow, Redfin. We're just starting to go through that shift in this industry.
That's really interesting.
Yeah. Then you can just focus on underwriting sales. Just get that done. You can become a multimillionaire just by keeping it simple, focusing on underwriting and sales.
Are you able to share any of the projects that you and your team are working on behind the scenes?
Yeah. So we got a lot of really cool things coming this next quarter. Networks, two-sided networks. One of the biggest challenges that you have is you grow those networks and start hitting scale, you have to fight. You have an inverse correlation with quality, right? This is what we were talking about earlier. I got to fire people every single month from the platform. The holy grail for us is to be able to open up a free version of InvestorLift. Okay, and we actually we have a free version that we built. We just can't put it out there in the wild because we got to build some safety mechanisms in place to make sure that the network doesn't get flooded. So one of the things I'm really excited for is we're going to be rolling out two-way reviews pretty soon. I'm really excited for that because it adds another trust mechanism. So if you do a great job with all your buyers, you're not dicking around, asking, backing out contracts last minute, whatever, your buyers will have the opportunity to leave you a review, and then you'll be able to leave them a review. And our whole online industry right now, like if you look at Amazon, Uber, Airbnb, you name it, we're very used to this whole review system. And we when I buy something on Amazon, that's the first thing I look at. When I'm looking at two products, they're the same price. Were the reviews. Yeah. Josh, I think Josh too.
Very well. Yeah.
He said the difference between like a 4.2 and a 4.7 rated product on Amazon is about a factor of 10x more sales.
Wow.
Yeah. So
that's kind of wild. 0.5.
Yeah. You sell 10 times more. So reviews are coming. I'm super excited for that. It'll allow the best wholesalers to climb up, and it'll help clear out the junk wholesalers. Buyers will be able to filter just like 4-star plus wholesalers, things like that. And then another really cool thing is we have the mobile app for iOS and Android. I actually got it here. I've been
dude, that'll be really cool.
Beta testing it.
No way.
Yeah, you want to see it?
Yeah, I do.
Check this out. All right. Boom. So much easier to get luck. Go take
Get back behind my mic.
Yeah.
Oh, dang.
It looks so clean, right?
Dude, that looks like really clean.
I still hate it. There's some stuff that
and it moves nice too.
It moves way better. The web, what you can do on web versus phone, web is it's designed for touch interaction. Yeah.
Wow, that'll be really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
that's gonna be a game changer.
Up. Yeah, I want to get. If I can get 1 million people installed with the app installed, That's going to be a game changer because that allows us then to shift more to this world of two-way messaging. If you look at the way that we interact right now, we DM people.
Yeah, we do.
That's what we do. We Instagram DM, whatever. Like you're constantly DMing people. When you book on Airbnb, you don't get an email and text from the you interact through the app, right? When you book a Turo or an Uber, you're talking to your driver through the app because then you don't have to worry about text deliverability. You don't have to worry about email deliverability. And then also you have all those communications in one place where you need them. So the mobile app's coming out, and then we're going to be pushing out two-way messaging. And there's actually some cool AI we're building for this too, where like each user will have their own like customized experience within the app. Not in version 1, but we just finished some algorithms where based on everything that you've looked at on InvestorLift, it'll give you a curated AI list of deals that look like they'd be the best fit for you. And then you'll be able to redefine that and like tweak the parameters. Like, oh no, I only want like 3.2+, built after 1980, whatever. So that's coming. Super excited about that. And then what else do we have? Oh, we have verified deals. Verified deals are coming. So we've dealt with, you probably deal with this when you're on Cartel. Someone has a deal that they want to sell, and they don't just take it to one company, they take it to 5 different companies. And then you go to post it and it's already posted it. And we only allow one deal posting. Yeah. So it's like, okay, who actually does have it on our contract? Because the most annoying thing that makes everyone in Dispo look like an idiot is when you have the same deal going out 5 times at 5 different price points. So we've already kind of solved that by only allowing one deal posting, but then we have this whole dispute process we get into, or someone's like, I got on our contract. Someone else is like, I got on our contract. We're like, okay, whoever has the verified uploaded contract automatically, programmatically is going to win that dispute. But what it also does too is it solves. So with verified deals, how it's going to work is when you post your property, instead of having like type in all the info, you just drag and drop your contract. And then we use an AI that then reads in the contract and will create your deal posting for you. It'll pull off the address, your closing date, all of that, and it'll create your property posting for you. So it saves you time, but then your deal is going to have like a little blue check that, hey, this is a verified deal that the contract has been uploaded on.
That'll be cool.
Because we get this other issue where people will sell their deals, but then they want to build their buyers list. So they just leave their deal posted online to try to get more buyer leads. And then the buyer goes out, they walk, drive the neighborhood, run all their numbers, and then call and give an offer. And they're like, oh, sorry, we already sold that one. We forgot to take it down. So it really, really helps solve that problem for buyers that they know they're going to know that, hey, if I'm only shopping verified deals, I know I'm not wasting my time. So we'll start giving those deals priority on the network and try to incentivize more users to just be uploading their contracts. And I think it's just going to make the whole network way, way healthier, right? Because we're buying contracts. That's literally what we're buying. So how do you want to know that what you're shopping for, you actually have the ability to buy. It's just, again, first principles thinking, like what are these simple things that we can do that will just make the whole industry way better? Yeah. So that's coming. And then we got title. So we have our own title company now, InvestorLift, working with David Olds on that. It's actually rolling out today. Oh, wow. Incognito. Just in Texas and Florida now. So if you have an accepted offer in Texas or Florida, when you accept your offer inside of InvestorLift, there'll be a pop-up that pops up that says, do you want to use InvestorLift for transaction coordination and title? If you click yes, all your title work is going to be fully integrated in the system. You'll be able to see the property moving through different statuses in title, escrow, EMD deposited, title clear, closing scheduled, everything. So you can see right now we just stop at offer accepted. You'll be able to run it all the way through. And so that's launching today in Florida and Texas. Super excited about that. Good time really with the podcast today. Didn't even plan that, but worked out well. So check that out, guys, on your Florida and Texas deals. It's not going to be the cheapest. What we're looking for is to have the best experience. If you want to guarantee that deal is going to close, and we're getting the top transaction coordinators and title people from the best, like that. We're trying to find like that title company rep at each title company that like everyone wants to work with just that one person, and then get them all working on that team. So we're trying to build like the number one team with David and Heather and Megan to have the most efficient title process possible. And then we'll beta test it, and then we'll roll that out across the country. And then next Monday, we have our first community launching, Uplift. So super excited about that. You'll be able to come on. Most of it's going to be free. There will be a paid option if you want to get access to some like more like behind the scenes information. It'll be cheap though. It'll be under $100 a month, but most of it will be free. It'll just be a place for real estate wholesalers, buyers, whoever from across the country to come in, collaborate. We have the Facebook group right now, but Facebook is very timeline based. It's not like topic driven. So this is going to run on Discord so we can do topic driven conversations. And that is going to absolutely blow up. And then of course, then we got leads. We're working on that. Yeah. Liam's got you beta testing, right?
Yeah. I think, I don't think we're on yet.
Yeah.
We might be. I'll have to, we'll walk over and ask my team when we're done.
Yeah.
Yeah. But we're for sure I'm in a group chat. I put, the people on my team in the group chat with Liam, to get it all set up. We're excited about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you don't have to screw around with Google Ads. We do it for you.
Yep.
And leads just come into your account.
And dude, we'll blow it up, bro.
Yeah.
Because we can handle it.
I know you can.
Like
that's why we picked you.
I'm excited. Like I told my team, I'm like, dude, like let's blow this thing out of the water.
Yeah.
Because I want to get to $1 million a month.
Yeah.
That's like a pretty big goal of mine. I've wanted to do that for like a decade. And I've never had $1 million a month. I just want to do $1 million a month. Just wholesaling. Because I own all these other companies, but like I believe that wholesaling, I could do $1 million a month, no problem.
Yeah. And I think this will help you get there, because I think the bottleneck you have right now is you do about half JV.
Yeah.
That
probably
takes a lot to maintain that. It does. Right? Like there's so much.
Because you're the middle of the middle. Is what it. So like we're probably. We might be the best at it. Maybe Keegley, us and Keegley are probably neck and neck. But it's like people think it's simple, right? Like, oh, you're just going to co-wholesale. And it's actually pretty hard to do it at scale.
Yeah, it's really hard to scale.
Because you're literally, when I say you're the middle of the middle, like you're like communicating anything from that person to that person is actually like fairly difficult, right? And so, you'll see deals just kind of fall apart for silly reasons that you look at them and you're like I see every day, I'm like, why did that deal fall apart? And it's just like, it's so silly, right? But it's like, you're just not in control.
Yeah.
What
I like about it though, is it gives you an opportunity to get like your new dispo managers trained up.
Yeah.
It's good training ground, but it would be hard to hit $1 million a month being so heavy on it. I think it's good for training new dispo managers. But yeah, as soon as you start getting closer to 100% on like you have full control, when you have full control, you can scale that shit.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cause I think my goal would probably be to do like 300 to 500 a month, JV, like co-wholesale, and then 500 plus direct seller.
Yeah.
And then we do some agent stuff. And we do some, like just other odds and ends, but like those are going to be the two main ones.
Yeah, you're gonna crush it.
Yeah, we are. We're 100%, dude. We'll do a podcast in the future and see how we do. Well, I know we've been on here for a little bit. I have like two more questions though. Yeah. One is, in your opinion, where do you see the wholesaling industry heading? Like, we've seen now a couple different states that have kind of cracked down on it, right?
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, you need to be licensed, or you need to be an agent, or this or that. And then also to add to that, we've seen NAR now. Like if you shift and look at just like the agent side, because I own a big team too, right? We're actually the number one retail team in the state of Arizona. Yeah. We have like 150 agents on our team. We're actually scaling that company nationwide right now too.
Wow.
And the NAR thing is actually quite an interesting thing that is a pretty big deal.
Yeah.
Because they essentially, have now changed, and it's official now.
Yeah.
Like we're now, as of like a week ago, we have to abide by, like if you go on the MLS, I'm sure you're already aware, but if you go on the MLS right now today in Arizona, there's no buyer broker commission listed on the MLS anymore as of like a week ago.
Wow.
So you have no idea what you're making. So you have to call the agent, right, and do all that. And so, yeah, I guess the question is like, when you look at the wholesaling kind of arena, where do you think we're going to end up? Is it like...
Yeah, well, Jerry Norden, he knows some of the guys on the NAR board that have been pushing this, and the two of us were very against it because we're more libertarian in the sense that we believe the market is the best way of solving any problem. And
capitalism.
Capitalism. There's a lot of bad players in the wholesaling industry, but you know what? Let the market go and clear them out. We're already doing this on InvestorLift. We're a prime example of how the market, a private company like ourselves, is cleaning up the industry. Like we have a wholesaler blacklist, right? We've blacklisted over 170,000 bad actors over the last few years. One thing I might do is actually open that up to the public.
Dude, that would be cool.
Yeah. Someone was like, you should open that up.
Yeah.
I'm like, you could do that. We could have like profiles for every investor and you can go on there and see,
That would be dude. That would be legit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And conversely, if you're a really good operator, hey, look at all my 5-star reviews.
It's like the BBB.
Yeah. Look at all my deal history. Here's I'm legit.
Uh-huh.
Hey, you want to pick a coach? Hey, look up my InvestorLift profile.
Sure.
Look, I have 700 deals that I've done all logged on InvestorLift on my profile.
Yep.
So I think we're going to do some of that. But like the market will push out bad actors. It takes time. They're trying to brute force it. South Carolina is the most concerning because they did the 1-2 punch. Number one, if you want to wholesale, you got to be a licensed realtor.
Yep.
Number two, now that you're a licensed realtor, now we have jurisdiction over you. That was the trick. They said you got to be licensed because they wanted jurisdiction because banning wholesaling is not really constitutional. It's assignment of contract. So they needed to get jurisdiction. So that's why they made that move. Then they got everyone licensed and they say, oh, if you're licensed, you can't wholesale. Now they have jurisdiction over you. Right. So I think eventually that will get challenged in the courts and it'll probably get kicked out. But the question is like, who wants to spend the money on that? Like that's probably millions of dollars of legal to go fight that. I think someone eventually will. Maybe I will eventually. I don't know. It's like a couple years of your life that someone's gonna have to dedicate to going and fighting that.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, you're just gonna have to get capitalized, right? Like you're gonna have to double close these things. But at the end of the day, people are like, a lot of people in the comments are like, oh, does Robert realize his entire company is going to be obsolete here in a few years because wholesaling will be banned nationwide? I'm like, bro, you guys are dumb comment. People are always going to have distressed assets that they need to sell, and people are always going to have capital that they want to put into distressed assets. Our buyers don't care if you're assigning them the contract or if you already own it and now are reselling it to them. When the government comes in, usually, almost always, what you'll see is whatever they're hoping to achieve, their policies will do the opposite.
Yep.
So they're saying that they're trying to protect the homeowner and get the homeowner more money in their pocket. I guarantee you it's going to have the opposite effect.
100%.
Okay? Because what's going to happen is those wholesalers are going to have to get capitalized. The small ones won't get capitalized. So the big guys will get capitalized. And the big guy, a lot of competition is going to go out. And then the nationwide guys, they're not going to bother. Like, do you even bother talking to the guys in South Carolina? If you get a lead in South Carolina?
No, I just say go somewhere else.
Yeah. So now those homeowners are getting less offers, which means that the people negotiating those offers are now in a much stronger bargaining position. Supply and demand. You've just decreased the demand for those distressed assets significantly.
Yeah.
Now those homeowners are going to start having to sell their houses at lower price points. Okay. And then those guys that get capitalized, all they're going to do is whatever their cost of capital is. Let's say they got to do transactional funding on it, and transactional funding is 1%, hypothetical. Okay, whatever I offered that homeowner last month without the regulations, now with the regulations, I'm just going to back 1% out.
Yeah.
And I'm probably going to back out even more because I have no competition. So I think we're going to do a study on this and look at like what are the average price points that these homeowners are actually getting pre and post. And I'm confident we're going to see a decrease in the values that these homeowners are able to actually achieve for their properties. So ultimately, it will end up hurting the homeowners.
Yeah.
The homeowners are going to be the ones that pay for it. The end buyer, he still wants 10%, cash on cash return, whatever. The wholesaler's got to make their fee to cover their overhead. The homeowner is going to end up paying for it. And it's very sad. And I think it's going to take a few years to get it reversed. or maybe it becomes the new reality and we just got to live with it. But yeah, if you're in one of those states, you got to get capitalized or get licensed or whatever you got to do.
Yeah, or just don't wholesale in that state right now.
Yeah.
Right? And
punish them.
Just, I mean, honestly, Yeah. There's 45 other states that you can wholesale in, or however many, right? I mean, like, and pretty much nowadays, everybody's virtual wholesaling anyway. So it's like, even me, when you look at, okay, we're nationwide, but like, I would say probably 40% of our deals we do in Arizona, we don't go to any of them.
Yeah.
Just because we're here doesn't mean we actually go on appointments. We don't go on appointments. We treat it as if we're not even in the same market.
Yeah.
Right. We get pictures sent to us and we sell it completely virtual. Right.
Yeah.
So it's like,
that's the way to do it.
I just tell people, I'm like, go somewhere where it makes sense to wholesale. Just because you live in South Carolina doesn't mean you have to wholesale in South Carolina, right? Like wholesale here.
Yeah. And I think most people are going to do that. Like all the nationwide guys are pulling out of these states. And what's happening now is, if you think about it, we are basically a capital partner of these states in a weird way. Like what we do is we bring capital in to be invested in bringing their cities back to life. We take the absolute worst houses in their neighborhoods and we bring them back to life. We increase the values of those, which increase the tax revenue that the cities earn, the tax revenue that the states earn, which funds the police, the schools, all of this. I don't think these guys are thinking about the long-term impact of their policies. You basically cut off the money faucet to your state. That capital that's normally coming in to go fix up your worst houses, your worst neighborhoods, you're cutting it off. You're basically, Canada did this a few years ago. Back when I was a kid, the current Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau, worst leader in Canadian history, his dad, Pierre Trudeau, was Prime Minister, and he went and nationalized a bunch of oil assets, made them government owned, because he's like, the Canadians need to get the money that they deserve from their natural resources. Then blocked all foreign investment in the oil industry. My city population went from probably like 800,000 down to like something like 300,000. Like literally half of the city left. Everyone was out of work. There's bankruptcies everywhere. That's what happens when you cut off capital investment. So they're cutting off real estate investor capital investment into their cities, not cutting it off, but severely hampering it. And then what's going to happen is you're going to let that run for a decade. And the cities that let that run for a decade, they're going to have an abnormal amount of distressed properties in them. And you get one of those on a street, okay, fine. You get two distressed properties, 3 distressed, then you start having, you can have a house that dies, you get a few of those on the street dies. You connect a few of those streets, the neighborhood dies. Yeah. And their cities are going to fall apart.
I agree. I've even made content talking about like taxes and stuff. So many people you look at, and not to get too political, and we won't spend very much time, but you look at like probably, one side of the aisle right now, it's like, that you look at, like, let's just use Donald Trump for an example. Just for 1 second, as a human being, not as a politician, but as a human being, right? People are like, oh, he doesn't pay any taxes. Wealthy people just leverage the tax code that, by the way, anybody can leverage. Yeah. It's not just that. It's not like, oh, you can use it and you can't. It's like, no, anybody can. We all
have the same rules in the game.
We all have the same rules, right? They understand how, you don't. That's a different conversation. You can learn or you can hire somebody. But it's like, if the reason that capitalism works is because investors are incentivized to flip houses and to essentially, give energy into that marketplace, right? Yeah. And money and resources, like you said. If there wasn't an incentive to buy real estate, you look at like opportunity zones and stuff, right? If you took away all the incentive to buy real estate and you made it difficult to do, and you really just threw every wrench that you possibly could, then the government has to do it. Yeah. Somebody has to do it. Otherwise, like you said, in 10 years, if all the investors just pulled out of the market, then you're just going to have the whole country be dilapidated. Yeah. Like it would all just fall apart. I mean, it wouldn't take very long. It might maybe a decade or two.
Yeah, we keep America's neighborhoods beautiful.
Literally. And to your point a long time ago, Robert, you were saying, and I agree completely, the flipper and the landlord 9 times out of 10 is not the marketer. Yep. And so you see it like, so many people have commented on my stuff and they're like, yeah, but wholesalers aren't needed. It's like, yeah, they're needed more than anybody. That seller and that flipper would have never met each other.
Yeah.
Because if they were bound to meet each other, then they would have already met each other.
Yeah.
Like you see these houses that sit on the market for 3 months and they never sell. And then a wholesaler will go get that property under contract. It's literally listed on the market. Anybody can buy it. And they go negotiate a better deal. And they get it under contract and they sell it to a cash buyer. It's like, why didn't that cash buyer just go get it off the market?
Yeah.
Because they're not marketers. They're in the field managing their electrician.
Getting good at their one thing that they're the best in the world at.
Yep. They're managing their plumber, their electrician. They're driving to Home Depot, and they're not sitting on the internet, texting, calling, talking, negotiating, and marketing to find the good deal. So it takes the wholesaler, I think people's thinking, to your point, they're not thinking about the long term.
No.
They're thinking about the feel good right now.
Yeah. Was politically
correct.
Looks good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's crazy world we live in, man.
Yeah, and it's a bit of a, NAR is running it, and it's a little bit of a power game too. They're trying to solidify market share and protect their market share because they're getting beat to hell.
They are. Yeah.
They just had the big lawsuits against them.
And we'll see, man. Even that, without going on a tangent, I mean, I've got a couple of partners of mine that think that this whole, buyer broker and all this stuff they're rolling out we'll see how the next 6 months look, because it's hurting the buyer.
Yeah,
is what it's doing a lot of the times. Because now a seller, might say, I'm not paying the commission, and a buyer and an agent's not going to work for free.
Yeah, I just did it. I bought a house last week. I'm like, they're like, do you need a buyer representation? I'm like, there's no way in hell I would trust any of you to represent me. I'm just like, no, just give me a 3% seller carryback and I'll represent myself. Here's how we're going to structure the deal. Let's go.
For sure. Yeah, it's interesting. My final question for you, Robert, is what are your thoughts on the market? I ask everybody in real estate, just in general. Nobody's got a crystal ball, but when you look at, 08 really being the last major downturn in the economy, we have maybe a little bit, some people might argue that in 2022, I guess, we had a little bit of a recession. I don't think it was hardly anything. I think it was more of a speed bump than anything. Do you foresee in the near future a market correction in the stock market, the crypto market, the real estate market at all? Or do you think that we're smooth sailing?
Well, there's always going to be hiccups. There's always going to be up and down. So I don't think there's ever going to be smooth sailing. I don't see us having any big black swan events coming, but black swan events are black swan events. They call them black swan events for a reason because no one sees them coming.
Yeah.
So, you always got to be prepared for a black swan event. What I do think is going to happen over the next year is I think Trump's going to win the election. I think the Democrats, their whole scam keeping Joe Biden hidden in the basement. When he got up on stage in that debate, it doesn't matter if you're Republican, Democrat, Independent, the level of shock that everyone in the country experienced when they saw the mental capacity, clear as day, in front of the whole world. A big embarrassment for America.
Huge.
But I don't think that the Democrats can come back from that because I think the country's pissed. They're pissed off that you kept this hidden and now we're getting pulled into all these wars and because there's no leadership. And when there's no leadership, it's like when the cat's away, the mice will play. People were scared of Trump. They're not scared of Biden. And now everyone's doing I'm surprised China hasn't invaded Taiwan. I was like, that would have been the last domino to fall. But everyone else, the cat's away, the mice will play. Let's go invade Ukraine. Let's go invade Israel. Let's get away with what we can while we can. Think about we didn't realize that shit, but think about how these other countries probably have these intelligence files.
Oh, for sure.
They're probably getting back channel information. They got Mossad and all these they're some of the best intelligence agencies in the world. Of course, they knew it, right? But it's so crazy that. So I don't think the Democrats come back.
I don't think they can either.
Even though Kamala's actually leading nationwide, which is mind-boggling, but not in the Electoral College.
No, not in the Electoral College, and I think it's still just a honeymoon. I think the honeymoon's about to end. DNC starts today at the time of filming the podcast. Today's August 19th. Today's day one of DNC, and she released some of her policies last night, and it's already. And again, this isn't a political podcast, but why the hell not, right?
Yeah.
We got to get Charlie Kirk on here. But you're already seeing Kamala's she's taking a communist
Yeah, price fixing.
Price fixing. That never worked.
No, you're gonna have bread lines.
That never worked. You look at all the countries that have tried that. Look at the history books, right? That's been attempted, for hundreds of years. It's never worked.
Yeah.
Right.
What I'm wondering though is she nuts enough to try to run it, or is she just doing that because it sounds good for like the really crazy radicals? Like, is it?
I have no idea.
Well,
and that's what people can't figure out, right? Like, you look at the border.
Yeah.
It's black and white. It's really simple, right?
Yeah.
There's roughly 15 million illegal immigrants that have come into America. Trump's not, I was watching this interview. Somebody was asking, it was a Hispanic or maybe it was a Chinese American or Asian American. They were asking him like, hey, Trump's against like immigrants. And this was somebody that came here legally. Yeah. And this person was like, no. He's against illegal immigrants.
Yeah, I'm an immigrant. I did the legal way.
You got to come do it the legal way.
It's so broken. It's so impossible to do it the legal way. Mm-hmm. I love his policy proposal. Just if you got a 2-year or 4-year degree from American college, you get a green card.
For sure.
Brilliant. Yep. Let's brain drain the rest of the country. When I was at Harvard, you get 30 days to get the hell out after you graduate.
Yeah.
I had people in my classes that were the smartest people I've ever met in my life. And they all wanted to stay in the U.S. Mm-hmm. And they couldn't because you can't get a visa right out of college.
Yeah.
It's impossible. You need to go get 5-10 years of experience to have enough, like, whatever, to get in on one of these visa visas. And even if you do that, it takes 2 years and it costs hundreds of thousands of dollars. Mm-hmm. So it's broken. But just like some of the policies come out, they're just stupid simple. You got a 2-year, you got a 4-year degree, we keep you. Let's go brain drain Europe.
Yeah.
Let's go brain drain Canada. I'm saying that as a Canadian, but like they're screwing it up there. Like, let's go get the top talented people down here work in the U.S.
Yeah, but don't take the people from the mental asylums and prisons and like, we've got to fit. And so back to what you're saying, it's like, they clearly know, I think one of the things that I think a lot of people are waking up to realize is that, you look at Kamala, she's been talking and Biden was talking. Kamala's in particular is like, on day one. Right on day one, I'm going to do this. Like, you're on like day 1300 right now.
Yeah.
And you haven't done anything.
Yeah.
So what do you mean on day one? Like, what's this whole day one thing, right? And I think to your point, dude, Americans they're over it, man. Yeah. You look at Biden, right? It's like, it's so blatantly obvious that the Democratic Party pulled Biden from the race unwillingly.
Yeah.
Yet he's still fit to be the president today.
Yeah, they should. Now, if they're smart, what they should do. So have you ever heard about the 7 keys to the presidency?
No.
So there's a professor at American University in Washington, D.C. He's predicted all the last presidential winners back to, I think back to like Ronald Reagan. And he talks about the 7 keys that need to fall in place for you to win the presidency. And one of them is what do they call it? Incumbency.
Okay. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Incumbency.
Yeah.
Like, are you the sitting president? That's one of the 7 keys. What they should do is have Biden step down, throw Kamala in, and then she will then ride this wave of being the first female president. Now, they might still do that. I think they might still do that right before the election so that she can kind of ride that wave into actual election day. If they did it now, it would probably fizzle out. Mm-hmm. So you might still see that move. I think they're going to make that move. Yeah. If they're smart, they make that move. But I still I don't see it being enough. That means we get a Trump president. We got our 4 years of Trump. I like that conversation he had with Elon Musk because Elon Musk really broke things down again to fundamental first principle thinking. He's the best in the world at it. How do you run how do you have inflation? You have inflation when the government spends more than the country produces. Yep. So there's only 2 ways to fix that. Either you produce more or you cut spending. You need a little bit of both. I hope that Trump puts Elon on his cabinet.
And I think he said he would.
He said he would. Go into some of this government inefficiency on spending. We got to cut that back because we're spending more money on debt service than we are on the military. That's
80%. 80%, Robert, you know this, of all the money in the U.S. was printed in the last 4 years.
It's insanity.
Think of that.
It's insanity. So the Fed actually needs to keep rates up.
Yeah.
Like a lot of people are like, oh, you need to cut them. You need to cut them. Cutting them would be so great for us.
Yep.
Like this is one of those things where like I know that would be better for our businesses in the short run, but we got to look at this on a 100-year horizon. On a 100-year horizon, they need to keep those interest rates up for a little bit longer.
Yeah.
But I think you're going to see the first cut sometime next year. I don't think they're going to cut this year. I think they're going to cut next year. And then there's a lot of people that have been waiting, thinking that it's like any month now. And then as soon as you do that first cut, even if it's a small cut, people are going to be like, you know what, I've waited long enough. Yeah. Let me go do my refi. Let me move houses. And there's going to be this explosion of pent up demand. So I think next year looks really good for us because that they're going to have to do at some point next year. And all that pent up demand is going to hit the market.
Yeah, no, I agree. I don't think, I mean, if there were any sort of real big market correction, I think it would be 2027 or beyond, probably. You know, somewhere in that ballpark of time. Because I think right now it's too politically, even too like, well, the Democratic Party, they can't afford for the market to crash right now.
No.
Because it'd make them look terrible, way worse than they already look. And so you can't let that happen. So 2024 is out of the equation.
Yeah.
Right? 2025 is most likely out of the equation too, because regardless of who wins, they want that first year really needs to look good, right? And so that pushes you into 2026 and beyond, you know. All right, I take that back. I have one more question because I have to come full circle now because I'm the two things that I invest in heavily right now are real estate and crypto. Yeah. And you mentioned that, you know, you actually were in crypto at $100 per Bitcoin, right? Do you still like Bitcoin and do you own any Bitcoin?
Yes and yes. Okay. I did lose most of mine in the MT Gox hack a few years ago. Show you the
Aren't they refunding all that right now?
I heard, yeah. I think I'm going to get some back.
Okay, yeah.
I don't know if they got everything, but they were able to reclaim some of it.
Yeah, like quite a bit of it, and I think they already sent it to all the wallets to get distributed.
So
like
I got to figure
that
shit
week.
out. Yeah, I got to figure that shit out.
Yeah, you should.
I got to get on it because you know there might be a few million bucks sitting there. That would be pretty sick.
That'd be nice.
But it's like, where do I even start? I don't remember what my freaking keys were from like 2008.
Yeah, that's tough.
I just got my email. Like,
yeah,
I got to figure it out. But yeah, Bitcoin, I mean, I'm bullish on it. It's a new technology. It's not as big as the internet. Like the internet was one of these like core moments where it's just like industry changing, world changing. AI is going to be like that as well. Bitcoin is up there. Like people don't realize it now because nothing happens in like short spans. Like these things take decades. But yeah, I just dollar cost average into it. Like
I buy it every day.
Yeah. Dollar cost average into 70% Bitcoin, 30% Ethereum. I don't mess around with the
meme coins.
Yeah, the meme coins. Yeah. I'm like, no. Look at Google. Most tech is winner take all.
Yeah.
There's going to be some use cases. Like Ripple was one. I was on the Ripple ICO years ago. Just the $15 that they gave you for creating an account. I had an old wallet. I logged in the other day. It's like worth thousands now.
Wow.
But we saw how that would disrupt the banking system with the whole like Swift wire routing. We're like, this is a good one. So that was the only other kind of like altcoin that me and my older brother got into was the Ripple ICO. But yeah, Bitcoin's great. Ethereum.
Yeah.
Stick to those. Dollar cost average into them. Do it for your kids too. You know, set up an account for them and just
even a Roth IRA.
Yeah.
For your kids.
Yeah.
And you can buy like BlackRock. Like you can just go right inside of that Roth and buy. I had Brian Decker on my podcast a couple days ago. Are you familiar with Brian Decker, by the way?
I'm not sure. It sounds familiar.
A real good guy. I'll make the introduction. But you'd actually be good for. He's got a podcast too, and he asked me the other day who would be good for his podcast.
Yeah,
He'd be great.
Us.
I'll connect you guys. He ran the math based very conservatively. If you had a kid born today, and you opened a Roth IRA for that kid today. And you bought $7,000 a year worth of like IBIT, which is BlackRock's ETF for Bitcoin, and then assuming a 20% annualized return on Bitcoin, which like the last 4 years it's like 65%. All time, like the last 10 years, Bitcoin's like 170, I think, or 160 annualized. So assuming a 20% annualized, I think by the time that kid's like 59, they'd have 17 million, which is not bad.
Yeah.
Right. You know, so
it works.
It really works. It's like $250 a month or something like that. Investing. I mean, like,
do it.
Seems like a no-brainer to me.
No-brainer. And I like the idea of doing it with a Roth IRA because then you're not paying taxes.
Yeah. At the end of it, you know. And well, Robert, I really appreciate you coming on. It's almost 2 hours.
I like it.
I don't know if you know that.
We dove deep on.
Hopefully you didn't get too many phone calls. It does go by like that. We'll do it again for sure.
Yeah.
And if you're still watching, you stayed to the very end of the podcast. You know, do me a couple of big favors. Number one, if you have any interest at all in InvestorLift, it will be the first link in the description down below. So you can click that or use my last name, Zabak. Go check it out. Right, get on the phone with Robert's team. You know, you're going to end up talking to probably somebody that, probably Joey or somebody like that. Robert has an incredible team, right? They'd love to talk to you. And look, if you want to wholesale more houses, like if you're wholesaling right now and you're doing a few deals a month and you don't have InvestorLift will probably, I can say from experience, Robert probably can't say, but it'll probably double your income, right? Like, and again, you know, don't take my word for it. Like go do your own research, but it doubled our income. Right.
Amazing.
So just like straight up, you know, so go check that out. And then Robert, where can people get in contact with you if they want to just, you know, touch base with you?
Yeah. So just follow me on IG at Robert Wensley, or at InvestorLift. And then also check out our YouTube, because we got the 11 out of 10 podcast that we did. You've been on, you're one of our first guests. So we got a lot of really incredible interviews, with guys, you know, a lot of guys that are really big. You don't see them out on podcasts very long. Like, we just had one with Doug Hopkins. Doug Hopkins spent just his marketing budget. His wholesaler is over $1 million a month.
Yeah.
A lot of people are like, oh, $1 million a month in assignment fees. That would be incredible. No, Doug spends $1 million a month just on marketing. My co-host there, Zachary Keeps, absolutely incredible investor.
Beast. Yeah.
Beast. He's got over 300 rentals in his portfolio with
20% debt.
Yeah. 80% equity.
Insane.
So a lot of really great free real estate knowledge for all of you. So check out InvestorLift on YouTube.
Yeah, 11 out of 10 and phenomenal podcast. I'll link that down below too. So I'll do InvestorLift first link. Second link will be our podcast we did together, and then go subscribe to that. And I really appreciate you being here, man, and making the time.